It's Lisa from Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk about releasing trapped and stored trauma within the body. So a while ago, maybe it was even up to 2 years ago, I did a video on TRE, which is trauma release exercises, and where you release your trauma stored in your body by shaking. And it's an interesting, I did the program with David Berceli, and I've done a lot of somatic experiencing courses and work through people like Peter Levine. And so it is very important. It's a very important technique and tool that you can use. And if you can go back and check out that video, you can probably just search it at Lisa Heal Yourself, TRE. But this is kind of, I want to do a few more videos on that. Now, the reason I haven't done many videos on that is because TRE as practice has been trademarked, which I'm not going to get into the whole, trademarking your body of shaking. However, I will say this is my experience, and you can get qualified practitioners for TRE. I have worked with them, and I've done the program, like I said, the video course. But technically I'm not supposed to be giving out information, I guess, because it's trademarked. Okay, saying that, I want to talk about all the ways that you can release trapped trauma in your body. So the whole premise of TRE, or I guess they don't say TRE, but TRE is based on animals in the wild who go into the stress response, who go into the fight or flight response when they're being attacked or when they're in imminent danger. Afterwards, when they come out of a severe shock situation, a lot of times these animals will shake. They will shake, and they will get up and they will shake themselves, and then they will flap it, birds will flap, and then they'll be done. The trauma will be over. They'll go back, their system will settle back down, and they'll carry on. So that's sort of the idea. So you fatigue certain muscles in your body and you can go back again and watch this video, but you fatigue certain areas of your body, and then you get that sort of involuntary kind of just like shaking, right? Shaking of your legs, shaking of your hand. It's kind of involuntary, and it's very relaxing, so it doesn't take a lot of energy once you're in that induced state. Your body, your fatigued body muscles take over, and they just do that little bit of shaking, right? And that shaking will help relieve trapped and stored trauma within the body, because we aren't able to sit there and shake that long or do something, because it's not taking a lot of our energy when you're in that state and your muscles are fatigued, and it's that fatigue shaking. So it's not like you're not using up your energy to shake. It's like the relaxed shaking that you can do for an hour or so if you want to. So saying that is one of the ways that you can release trapped trauma, but it's not the only way. So yes, animals do shake, and they do, shake off stress and regulate their nervous systems that way. However, there's many different ways that people, have gotten rid of trapped trauma in their bodies at the time of the event. And at the time of the event, a lot of times people use everything. So I want you to think of this. So you can actually shake. So you can do the TRE method. You can go watch my video where it shows step by step on how to do that. And that is one way to start shaking. But you can also do other things. Laughing is very effective. Have you ever seen somebody in a traumatic situation or a grief-stricken situation? So I'm just gonna let my dog outside. And they just break out into laughter. Laughing shakes the body. Laughing takes stress out of our body, and this laughing, hysterical laughing fit. Have you ever been in a hysterical laughing fit and you don't know whether you're going to start crying or laughing? You're caught in this state, and your body's releasing. It's flooding emotions. You almost don't know whether it's funny or it's painful or it's sad at some point when you're in a laughing fit. But it does release stored things. That's why often people start laughing, they end up crying, because it's just releasing emotions that are stored in the body. So shaking, laughing. We can do things like screaming. Screaming has an auditory vibration in your ears, your jaw, your mouth, your body. It can really be effective to scream. and to get these things out. So in a controlled environment, you can even put a pillow over your mouth and you can scream and scream and scream. Now, it does take energy to scream, but often you release a lot because it's a very intense, it's an intense feeling when you're screaming, when you're just letting it out from the depth of your being. And it releases a lot of stored trauma. So we have shaking, we have laughing, we have screaming, punching. You can get in a controlled environment where you're kicking and punching at a punching bag or a wall and really letting out your stored energy and your stored trauma and the emotions behind it as you start to feel that you're just like fighting for your life, right? Fighting. Because often what happens when we get into a stress response like that is we freeze, and that is a freeze response when things store in your body, the trauma stores, right? Often fight or flight is our best option. So when we are fighting, we're releasing the stress. When we're fleeing, we're releasing the stress. But when we freeze, we often store it within, and it needs to be released at some point. So fighting, like literally punching and kicking in a controlled environment and just having a session and letting that out, or even like on pillows in your bedroom and just like going crazy in a controlled way when no one is around, that is very effective for releasing trauma. Running. So again, at the time of the event, we likely weren't able to flee and we wanted to. We likely felt like we couldn't get away. We felt trapped. And so running, even taking up a controlled running, like going outside and literally just running away as fast as you can, might exhaust you. It might tire you out. You might not be able to do it for that long, depending on what kind of shape you're in. But you notice it will drain you. It will completely drain you. And in that drain, you've released pent up energy. So that's another way, right? So crying, laughing, screaming, fighting, running, singing. Often the vibration at a very high level will induce a release. So that is why music and singing is so therapeutic, but also because of the auditory and the vocal vibration of singing can also release. It's a form of mild shaking. It's that tremor effect, and that can help release stored tension in your body. Singing, you have things like humming. Humming is amazing. So that you can do different levels of high-pitched and low-pitched and humming. It has a very big vibration effect. It's like a shaking for your entire like insides. And often if you plug your ears and hum, you can tell, like you can almost hum in your head and not hear the sound out loud. It's like an inner vibration. So humming is very effective, right? Anything with your voice, like singing, humming, screaming, right? We have the laughing, crying. Crying is so important. Crying is one of the most important things that we can do to release. I mean, often when people are scared, when they are sad, when they are mad, anything can induce crying, and that really relieves a lot of stored grief, stored tension and grief and sadness and feelings that are locked in the body. Often when you're watching a movie, these emotions will rise within you, and maybe not everyone in the room is feeling that way or crying, but you have some of these trapped emotions inside you, or if somebody just comes up to you on the wrong day and says like, how are you doing? And they give you a hug, it just releases your floodgates, and all of a sudden you start crying, right? This is signs that you've got a lot of trapped emotions in there, and someone gives you the opening just a little bit in order to feel, and it comes flooding out. So this is signs that we need to cry more. So cry if you feel like crying. If you get that sensations coming on when you're watching a movie, or when someone asks you how you are, or any time during the day, don't hold it back. Don't hold it in. Even if you think this is a silly thing to be crying over, it's not that you're crying over. Your body has more, deeper, like a reservoir of stored grief and trauma inside you. And it's taking that little welcoming opportunity to cry. So don't say, well, I shouldn't cry over this because it's silly. Just cry. Go in the bathroom, cry. Put some sunglasses on, walk down the street, cry. Crying is so vitally important. So again, shaking and doing the TRE method is a really effective way that has been, proven to work, and they're doing it with veterans and things like that. But you can induce your own shaking. You can do, you can do your own exercises, and your bodies will shake. You can go outside in the frigid cold and or get those goosebumps, and your jaw will start to shake. When you get the teeth chattering, that is shaking. The teeth chattering, right? When your arms fatigue, when you're doing push-ups or whatever, and then they shake, that is the shaking. You can voluntarily do dancing, jumping jacks, exercise, yoga. Dancing is amazing for storing or for releasing trapped energy, because your body's moving in certain ways. It's moving the energy out. It's little shakes, little vibrations. You can stand on vibration plates. You can get that vibration. You can use vibration wands and put them on your body. You can get that vibration, but you want it to be sort of at a deep level in your body, so you feel the sort of tiredness, and your body takes over, and it just starts to like shake or move. You can do kundalini yoga, is amazing for shaking. The people can experience this shaking effect in certain exercises in kundalini. And I think I have a video on there about the shaking rapidly of the arms, and you can feel like the vibrations going through them at the end, and you're doing it for 3 minutes. You can search that. I think I might have that under kundalini. CSN regulation exercise, a central nervous system regulation exercise, and it's also amazing. It gets this like upper body like shaking going through your body, and it helps to release. So all these things are just tools. So when someone says like TRE is the best, or kundalini is the best, or dancing or singing or crying, or going and practicing fighting or screaming or doing all these things, they're like, somebody finds these tools and they're like, oh, this was really effective for me. But the fact of the matter is, they're all tools to release physically, to physically help release stored trauma, because we can emotionally release it by talking, by feeling, by sitting with it, by feeling the feeling and then letting it dissipate, by crying, by talking, by writing about it, by understanding about it. There's all the emotional ways that we actually need to process and release these emotions as they come up, by feeling them, by detaching from them, by seeing them, there's so many emotional ways. But also physically, we need to find ways to release this stored trauma, from everything, from lying, from crying, screaming, laughing, dancing, humming, anything and everything that you can do to release this stored trauma in a physical way is also helpful, because you weren't just emotionally crippled. You weren't just emotionally stunted by this trauma. You were also physically stunted, because you didn't feel like you could properly escape or fight off what was happening to you at the time, and so you froze. Often, and this has happened to me several gazillion times in the past, when I go into freeze state, I will pass out, faint, completely down. And that is also a way, believe it or not, that we can release trauma, because we're in a frozen state. There's nothing we can do. Our body will literally shut us down and pass us out. It used to happen to me my whole life growing up. I had a medical phobia, so anytime I walked into the hospital, anytime there was blood, anytime there was a needle, anything like that, I would literally pass out. This was a phobia that I had for 30 years before I found the way to totally 100% dismantle it. I should do a video on that sometime. If you would like to see a video on that, put that in the comments. I don't know if anybody here is dealing with medical phobia or phobias or anxieties or passing out, but I definitely have the answer to that. So if that is something of interest to you, I can do that. I probably will do it at some point, but if you're interested in it now, just let me know. Okay, so what I'm saying is that is also a way. We can't make ourselves pass out. But often that out of control feeling, where our body feels out of control and disoriented, we run from these feelings. We don't want to experience them. But it's our body's sensations rising to the top and bubbling to the top and saying, we are going to force these feelings upon you because it's going to help release. It's going to help, you know, a lot of people that have seizures, it's their body's attempt to shake off trauma and to shake off these things inside them because they can't do it themselves. And it's one of the ways that the body will, sorry, I gotta let my dog in now. It's one of the ways that the body will take over, you know, as it will allow you to cry or scream or run or fight. It also gives you the ability to literally pass out, shut down, and basically go unconscious and shake these things off as you're going into that state and as you're coming out of it. So, yeah, it's very important that we try to release physically as much as we can in all kinds of different ways and different modalities. And this video is going really long, so I'm going to close it off now. I just want to say we're going to be talking about each one individually, and I'll give you some tips. I will go back and do some videos on specific exercises and ways that you can actually do it. We'll go like take a video and do one at a time. But overall, we can't just deal with stored trauma in the body through spiritual and emotional release, which is where the majority of people think it comes from, and it does. But we also need to think about the physical for the parts of the emotions that are trapped in physical tissues and in the body that actually need to help expressing themselves out. And it's an interesting way to do it because it's a way that you can do it without having to relive the trauma and to go in and talk about it and process it and whatever. It's like a physical way to release. So again, very important, and all the ways are helpful. So I do want to do some more videos on that coming up soon. So I hope this has given you some ideas and has been helpful.